Okay, so I started a recording. Okay, and so we can begin with the salutation to the Buddha. Well, first we do three bows. One, two, three, and then the salutation. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Okay, so we're continuing with our reading in the Numerical Discourses, the book of the sevens. And at this point, we're pretty much coming to the end of the book of sevens. So rather than focus on individual suttas and giving elaborate explanations, we'll do sort of like a quick tour, because I think we have just two classes left in the winter session. So we'll try to finish the book of sevens in these two classes. So I'll do
Are
like
you
a
sharing your screen,
I
Bhante?
will share it. I will share it. Yeah. Yeah. So just we'll be doing a sort of a quick tour to the concluding suttas in the Book of Sevens. So let us do the sharing of the screen. Let's see. Okay, is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Size is okay.
Yes,
We can make
it's
it a little
fine.
bigger. Yeah.
Yes.
Oops, that's too much. Okay.
Oh.
It's good, Bhante. We can see it.
Okay. Okay. So now we come to the sutta number 69. And this sutta uses a simile of a tree in the Tavatimsa Deva world, the different stages in the blossoming of that tree. And some of the terms here I remember years ago, to get an explanation or an understanding of the meaning of some of these terms, I had to turn not to an expert in Pali or in Dhamma, but to a specialist in botany. Somebody connected me. I think it was Achan Brahmali in Australia connected me to a botanist at the University of Western Australia who provided some rather technical botanical terms for the different stages in the development of the flowers of this tree. And not that we've, not that she knows the Parichatika coral tree, which is just a legendary tree in the Deva world, but she understands the stages in the flowering of certain kinds of trees that exist here in the human world. Okay, so we have this tree. It's supposed to be a tree in the Nandana Grove in the Tavatimsa Deva world. So in this Tavatimsa is the one, two. Yeah, it's the second highest plane among the six desire realm heavenly worlds. And Tavatimsa is the abode of Shaka, the king of the gods, and it's depicted as a realm in which beings enjoy exquisite and very refined sensual pleasures. And even though some of the beings, including Saka, are reported to have attained stream entry, but if one is really striving earnestly for enlightenment and liberation, it doesn't seem like the most desirable heavenly world to be born into. I would aim for Tusita myself, since in Tusita you get to encounter Maitreya or Maitreya Bodhisattva, and in the it said that in the inner court of the Tusita Deva world, Maitreya is constantly giving Dharma teachings. But in the Tavatimsa Deva world, the Devas are indulging in games, sports. It's sort of like a super holiday resort. But even though Saka is reported to have attained a stream entry, and some of the other Devas also attained stream entry. So anyway, in the center of the Tavatimsa Deva world, there is a grove called the Nandana Grove. Nandana means delight. So this is the grove of delight in which the devas go to play. Probably there's a big swimming pool where they go swimming. Maybe there are swings where they can go on swings. Maybe there's a tennis courts where they can play tennis. A pavilion where they have musicians playing and they heavenly musicians and the devas can dance with each other. I don't know. Okay, so the first stage in the flowering of this Parichataka tree, this is this coral tree growing in the center of the Nandana Grove. First, it turns yellow, and at each stage, the devas are delighted. Okay, then after it turns, when it turns yellow, then they think that soon the leaves will fall. Next, the leaves of the coral tree fall. And then the next stage, we'll just go quickly through the stages, is called the floral initiation. Yeah, these are the terms that this botanist in Australia provide to me. Floral initiation. The next stage is the floral differentiation. The next stage is the bud formation. Then comes the bud burst, I guess the opening of the bud. And then the next stage is the blossoming, the complete blossoming of the flowers of the Parichataka tree. And then the seventh stage is, okay, when the Parichataka tree is fully blossomed, then the devas are elated and they spend 4 celestial months, much longer than the human months, at the foot of the Parichataka coral tree, enjoying themselves with the 5 objects of sensual pleasure. And then when the Parichataka coral tree is fully blossomed, then a radiance suffuses the area, 50 yojanas all around, and a fragrance, a beautiful fragrance, is carried by the wind for 100 yojanas. So that's the glory or majesty of the Parichataka coral tree. So all of this is an elaborate simile to indicate successive stages through which the disciple passes through on the way to the achievement of the supreme goal of arhatship. Okay, so first we have a noble disciple who forms the intention. So this is a person now in the householder life but the idea arises in their mind, the intention to go forth into the homeless life. And that is comparable to the Parichataka coral tree when its foliage turns yellow. Okay, next stage, we have the disciple. Now he's formed the intention to go forth. Now he actually takes that step, shaves off the hair and the beard, puts on the ochre robes, and goes forth from the household life into homelessness. So on that occasion, it said he is one whose foliage has fallen, just like the Parichataka tree. Okay, the next four stages we could just take in a kind of brief, comprehensive way. Now the disciple has gone forth into homelessness, completed all of the preliminary trainings, and now devotes himself to intensive meditation. And in stages, he enters and dwells in the four jhanas. So this is comparable to the stages of first jhana, comparable to the floral initiation, the second jhana, comparable to floral differentiation, third jhana, comparable to the bud formation, and the fourth jhana, comparable to the bud burst, the bursting open of the bud of the Parichataka tree. And then having passed through and mastered the four jhanas, though it's not mentioned specifically, but the disciple will then develop insight in order to cultivate panya, prajna, or wisdom. And then when that wisdom culminates, it goes through it. Strangely, the sutta doesn't mention the earliest stages. It should mention he attains stream entry, then he attains once returning, then he attains non-returning, but it skips over those stages, I guess, to correspond to the seven stages of the blossoming of the Parichataka tree, and it goes directly to the final realization, the attainment of arhatship. So with the destruction of the asavas, the taints, the noble disciple realizes, enters upon, and dwells in the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom. So at that point, he has fully blossomed, just like the Parichataka tree. And then to show how significant that achievement is, the sutta continues. On that occasion, the earth-dwelling devas raise a cry that this venerable so-and-so who's gone forth from the home life into homelessness with the destruction of the asavas has realized that taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom. And then having heard the cry of the earth-dwelling devas, then the devas ruled by the four great kings, the Tavatimsa devas, the Yama devas, the Tusita devas, the devas who delight in creation, the devas who control what is created by others, the devas of Brahma's company, all of them in sequence raise this cry. The venerable so-and-so has realized the taintless liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom. And if you're familiar with the first discourse of the Buddha, the Dhammachakrapavatana Sutta, you'll probably see that this sutta is sort of reproducing or replicating the ending of the Dhammachakrapavatana Sutta. In that sutta, after the Buddha gives his first discourse to the group of the five monks, when Kondanyo, the Venerable Kondanyo, gains the Dhamma Chakku, the eye of Dhamma. Then the text says, the earth-dwelling devas raise the cry in Isipatana in the deer park of Isipatana. The Blessed One has set in motion the incomparable wheel of the Dhamma, which cannot be turned back by anyone, by any Deva, Mara, Brahma, by any ascetic, Brahmin, or any human being. So the earth-dwelling Devas raise the cries, and then that cry goes up through the different layers of Devas, up to the Brahma world. Okay, so we'll take a few suttas, and then we could see any questions or comments arise from them. So if you have questions or comments, either retain them in mind, or if you tend to be forgetful, you could make a little note of your question. And then after we take maybe about 3 suttas, then we'll look at the questions and comments. Okay, this sutta just really elaborates a themes that we've come across several times in the Book of Sevens earlier about what a bhikkhu or really any practitioner should honor, respect, and depend upon. So this is the Venerable Sariputta gives rise to that thought, and then it occurs to him that one should honor, respect, and dwell in dependence on the teacher. This is the sutta, that is the Buddha, and then the Dhamma, the Sangha, the training, and then from the training, specifically singled out, is samadhi or concentration. Then comes heedfulness, which is really, I think, it should come before the training, since heedfulness is that quality of diligent effort that one applies to undertaking the training. And then, interestingly, comes hospitality, which becomes a very important quality in the communal monastic life. So I think I've mentioned this earlier, it's sort of almost like a understood procedure in monasteries. When a visiting monk comes, one provides him with a room, offers him, the junior monks will come and pay respects to him, and he will go to the senior monk of the monastery, pay respects to the senior monk, and then they'll offer him a room. If it's the evening, some tea or some refreshments, some other amenities, show him where the bathroom is, the shower, provide him with soap if he needs soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, and so on. Okay, so these are the 7 objects or recipients of respect. Ah, this is an interesting sutta. Yeah, so this sutta emphasizes the need, I would say, for combining 2 qualities in the practice. One is diligent effort, and the other is patience, not being impatient, eager, or greedy for quick results, but just applying oneself diligently to the practice in the trust, the confidence that as one is engaged with the practice, one is developing those qualities that are going to mature and ripen in the achievement of the goal. So the text says when a bhikkhu or monk, or we could say any practitioner, is not intent on development or not engaged in practice, even though he forms the wish, may my mind be liberated from the asavas by non-clinging, the mind won't be liberated from the taints. And what is the reason? Excuse me, because he lacks development. And the word that's translated development here is the word bhavana, which is also translated sometimes as meditation. But the word bhavana actually comes from the verbal root bu, or the verb bhaveti, which is based on the root bu, which means to be. And so bhaveti means to cause to come to be, to bring into existence. So bhavana is the process of bringing things into being, bringing into existence. And so what are the things that one has to develop, that one has to bring into existence? And so the text enumerates what are called the 37 Bodhipakkhiyadhammas, the 37 aids to enlightenment, or some translate them as the wings to awakening. So we have the four satipatthanas. You can see that they're arranged in a kind of ascending numerical order. So first we have three fours, the four foundation or establishments of mindfulness. These are the satipatthanas. The four right strivings or four right efforts, the four bases for psychic power, and these are desire, this is the wholesome desire, energy, purity of mind, and investigation. So those are the four bases for attaining higher states of consciousness and also for developing the iddhis. So these are the iddhipada, the bases for iddhi. Iddhi are the psychic powers. Okay, then come the five spiritual faculties. What are the five spiritual faculties? My mind is getting a little rusty. Anybody remember them?
The first one is faith, Bhante.
Have to get them all in the right order. Go
Ah.
on. Yeah, you're right. Faith is right. Yeah. Next.
Virya,
Right. Virya is energy.
Samadhi,
We
Samadhi,
have to get the right
Sati.
order. Right order.
Sati.
Mindfulness,
Sati.
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 Sati and
Sati.
Samadhi.
Sati.
Okay, I heard sati. So sati, right, is mindfulness. Next one.
Samadhi.
Samadhi
Samadhi
and panya.
and panya, wisdom. So faith, energy or effort, mindfulness, samadhi, and panya, wisdom. So those are the five spiritual faculties. Then the five powers. What are the five powers?
They are the same, Bhante.
Same ones.
Right, right. So the factors are the same, though it seems that the powers indicate those same factors, but from a somewhat different angle. The way it's explained, the five faculties are so called because they exercise dominion or control in their respective areas, where the five powers indicate those same five factors in the sense that they cannot be overcome or vanquished by their opposites. So faith cannot be overcome by doubt or wavering. Energy cannot be overcome by laziness or dullness. Mindfulness cannot be overcome by absent-mindedness or forgetfulness. Concentration cannot be overcome by agitation or distraction. And wisdom cannot be overcome by foolishness or ignorance. So when those five faculties gain the strength that they can't be overcome by their opposites, then they turn into the five powers. Then the seven factors of enlightenment. Wow, I'm having trouble remembering the fives, not to speak of the sevens. Can anybody help me with the seven?
Number 1 is mindfulness,
Sati.
Bhante.
Yeah.
Number
Next.
2 is
Dhammayacaya.
investigation.
Investigation of states.
Right. Yeah. Third.
Virya.
Energy.
Virya.
Energy.
Right. The third is energy or virya.
Priti Pasadi.
Piti or zest.
Okay. So the fourth is piti.
Piti or
We say
zest.
joy, elation, delight. Fifth
Pasadi.
is pasati.
Tranquility.
Yeah, very good. Pasati is tranquility. The sixth factor is
Concentration.
right, samadhi, concentration, and
Upeka.
the seventh, upekkha, very good.
Is equanimity.
Yeah, equanimity. So we have mindfulness, investigation, energy, elation or delight, piti, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. And then last, we have the Noble Eightfold Path, which has 8 factors. What are the 8 factors in the correct sequence?
Right view.
Yeah,
Right view.
Right
Right,
intention,
right intention.
yeah,
right
Right
speech,
speech. Right
right
action.
action,
yeah.
Right
right
livelihood.
livelihood, right
Right
effort,
Right
effort.
effort, right
right
mindfulness, and right
mindfulness,
mindfulness, right
concentration.
and
concentration.
Right,
right
very good. Very, very
concentration.
good. Perfect. Okay, so right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, then right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi or concentration. Okay, so somebody who is not engaging with developing any of these groups of factors, which really constitute the practice. So the person might be yearning, oh, I want to gain liberation. I want to be liberated from the taints. But if they're not devoting themselves to the practice, then the mind will not be liberated from the taints. And then we have a nice simile to illustrate this. So here we have a hen with a number of eggs, and she doesn't sit over them, covering them, incubating them, and nurturing them. And so even though she might form the wish, oh, I hope that my chicks will break through the shells or with their claws or beaks and come out safely, yet the chicks won't do so. I guess I don't know much about the bringing up chickens. Maybe somebody already has any farming experience, has more knowledge about this than I do. But it seems that for the eggs, when the hen lays the eggs, in order for the eggs to mature, the hen has to sit on them, keeping them warm. And then that way the embryo inside the egg will develop into a chick. And so the chicks won't come out because the hen hasn't properly incubated and nurtured her eggs. Okay, so then just the next paragraph applies that. Okay, then we have the opposite case. So here we have a monk or any practitioner who's intent on development, even though he does not form the wish, may my mind be liberated from the taints by not clinging, by non-clinging, yet his mind is liberated from the taints by non-clinging. For what reason? Because of development or because of application to the practice and then to the development of what? The same 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas. And here this needs a little bit maybe of a qualification. So it seems, this is my opinion, for the mind to be liberated from the taints, you do have to have, when you're engaged with the practice, you have to set your motivation, your intention for the mind to be liberated from the taints. So maybe every day when you sit down to do your practice, you sort of dedicate your practice to the attainment of liberation. Through this practice, may my mind be liberated from the taints, or may this practice be part of my equipment, my accumulation of spiritual power for reaching the liberation from the taints. So you need some kind of intention, guiding motivation, or aspiration as sort of the goal of one's practice. Otherwise, without this intention, the practice will just sort of be drifting here and there. But I think the point of this sutta or of this statement is that one shouldn't sort of be obsessively governed by this impatient wish. Oh, I want to get enlightened. I want to get enlightened. Everybody else is getting enlightened. I'm not enlightened. I have to get enlightened. Then I could put it up on my uh, Facebook page. I got enlightened. Or send out emails to all my friends or set up a website, The Enlightened One. So it's that sort of greedy ambition to reach this liberation from the taints. That is what has is sort of counterproductive. And so one quietly sets one's intention. So, for example, when we do our puja, we do at the end, we say, Idang me punya kamang asava kayavahang hotu. So this, by any merit acquired through this practice, may this conduce to or lead to the destruction of the asavas. So in that way, you're formulating a goal, which is sort of like the North Star of one's practice, that which helps you to navigate through your practice. But you're not sort of impatiently, impulsively just pressuring yourself. I have to reach attainment. I have to reach attainment. But you just work quietly, patiently, persistently, diligently, with dedication, with the confidence, the trust that as one is practicing, you're maturing those factors which will culminate in the liberation of the mind. Just like the hen sitting on the eggs. We'll see. I'm jumping ahead. We'll see the simile. Okay, so when the monk is intent on development, even though he doesn't form this sort of ambitious wish or this impatient wish, may my mind be liberated from the taints by non-clinging. Yet, when he persists consistently with devotion, dedication, diligence in the practice, eventually the mind will be liberated from the taints by not clinging. For what reason? Because one is developing all of those factors that culminate in the liberation of the mind from the taints. And so you see, particularly in the corresponding suttas of the Anguttara Nikaya, the chapters on the Noble Eightfold Path, four foundations of mindfulness, the seven factors of enlightenment, that is said that just as the Ganges River flows to the great ocean, streams towards the great ocean, and merges with the great ocean, so cultivating all of these factors flows towards the liberation of the mind, streams towards the liberation of the mind, and merges with or culminates in the liberation of the mind. And then we come to the simile of the chicken or the hen. Okay, now the hen has her eggs and she properly covers them, incubates them, and nurtures them. So she doesn't have to be thinking every day, may my chicks pierce through their shells and hatch out safely. But she does the work, sitting on the eggs every day. I don't know how long she has to sit on them. And the eggs are warmed up. And when the right time comes, then the chicks will break through the eggshells. Okay, so that's the first simile. So this shows how the chicken, the hen, is very patient. She does her work every day, sitting on the eggs, hoping for the eggs to hatch, but she's not um, every day looking at the eggs. Have they hatched yet? Have they hatched yet? But she just knows as long as I continue to sit on the eggs are gradually maturing. And when the right time comes, then she'll maybe hear the sound of some scratching inside the eggs. And then she knows now my chicks are going to break out. Yeah, another simile that I saw in a different context. Yeah, it's like a farmer is growing some plants, maybe corn, and he's impatient for the corn to grow. And so he pulls up the corn before it's matured, thinking in this way I'll get the corn. But when he does that, then he kills the corn plants. And so instead, the farmer just has to wait patiently, make sure the corn gets water every day, the appropriate fertilizer for the soil, and just wait patiently until the corn matures. And when the right time comes, then he'll get a full harvest of corn. Yeah, so then we have two other similes to illustrate this. So here we have a carpenter. So he has an adze. Adze is, we call this something else. This might be a British term. It's not an axe. Does anybody know what the adze is? A more common American term?
Bhante, it's more like a hatchet.
No. Okay, I just look at it's a versatile hand tool like a perpendicular axe with a blade set at right angles to the handle, used primarily for shaping and smoothing wood by chopping or shaving surfaces. It functions by removing wood in controlled scoops, creating unique textured surfaces. It's an ancient tool used since the Stone Age for woodworking, shipbuilding, and coopering. And so and then it has a video on the difference between an axe and an adze, but I won't watch the video now. Anyway, it's a tool. What's important?
Bhante, it's posted in the chat, the image.
Say again? Oh, the image, I see. Yeah, 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 that's what it looks like. Thank you. Yeah, so that's the adze. But what's important is really the handle. So whether it's an axe or an adze or a hatchet, anything that has a handle, that's what we're concerned with. So the carpenter sees the impressions of his fingers and his thumb on the handle, and he does not know, I have worn away so much of the handle today or yesterday or earlier. But when it's worn away, then he knows that it's worn away. Actually, I would think really a strong wooden handle would last, outlive the carpenter. Okay, but you could say in time that gradually the handle of the adze will wear away. Or to use another simile, not in the sutta, it's like a street. You take something like the Grand Canyon in Arizona, it's very, very deep canyon, which has been worn, it's been created by the river flowing across this rock surface over millions of years, and it's worn through the rock till we get this deep canyon. And so it shows what patient and persistent work, even of water, something as soft as water, can wear away the hardest rock. So that's the wearing out of the adze handle. And the next simile is that of a ship which has been bound together by lashings that have been worn out in the water for 6 months. Then it's brought up on dry land during the cold season, and then its lashings are further attacked by the wind and the sun, and then eventually the lashings will deteriorate and rot away. So gradually the lashings exposed to the water during the summer and spring, and then exposed to the wind, the cold, and the sun during the winter. And then those lashings, the ropes, deteriorate and rot away. And so when the monk is intent on development, then his fetters in time collapse and rot away. Okay, maybe now we could see if anybody has any questions or comments on any of the suttas we've covered so far. Okay, so I see Vandana.
Thank you, Bhante. It's a nice sutta. And thank you for mentioning about having this aspiration to get rid of the taints, asavas, before meditation. So mind keeps its mindfulness throughout. This is very helpful for me. And the second thing which I want to comment on about the simile of the chick. So she has to sit for 21 days. And one thing which is very interesting that when I was trying to become vegetarian 6 years ago, joining Buddhism, and then I talked to the Shifu, should I eat eggs? She said, you can eat unfertilized eggs. So unfertilized means that the hen does not meet with the rooster. So if, but every month she would lay the eggs, like female have periods, so
Yeah.
hens have periods as well. And if we eat those eggs, those are unfertilized eggs. So my point was that if even she sits on the unfertilized eggs, nothing will happen regardless.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
yes, that was so funny for me. It's like, okay, I should share this information. Thank you so much.
Do the chickens sit on the unfertilized eggs? I don't know.
Yeah, they do. They
They
do. And
do. Yeah.
yeah, and then they have to abandon the nest because nothing comes out. Because for them, I think they don't know what is the difference.
I see. Yeah. I don't have experience with 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 chickens. Okay.
Thank
o-
you.
Okay. Okay. Ali? Ali?
Yes. Hi, Bhante. Thank you for your teaching, sir. On the four psychic powers that you had mentioned, I'm wondering if you can open up what that psychic means. Is that like an intuition? Then I can kind of like wrap my mind around
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But if it doesn't, I don't know what that is or what to do with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about this too much, but let me just type it in. Is this a T? Okay. Okay, so these are called Iddhi Pada. So it's translated psychic potency. The Pali word is Iddhi. And these are, and then Pada means a basis, the means for achieving. So the suttas, other suttas mention different types of Iddhis. So some of the Iddhis, we could say the supernormal powers, would be the ability to multiply one's body. So one has one body here, but I can create a duplicate body. So I could be sitting here in my room and I create another body, maybe walking down the road or sitting in the library, sitting in the library.
Are you talking about like imagination, Bhante? Is that what he's
No,
referring?
it's not just imagine. Of course, I don't have personal experience of this. It's not supposed to be just imagination, but one can create multiple bodies so that other people can see you at a distance, even while you're sitting in your cave meditating, but other people will see you at a distance. And so the Buddha apparently had that ability to maybe send images of himself to different places teaching the Dhamma while he might be sitting in his cottage in the Jeta's Grove.
Well, can I just like not believe in those and just like go with whatever I can see and run through my mind? Is that
Excuse me?
okay?
Excuse me?
I'm just wondering if I can just just kind of like not pay attention to those four, and I'm okay with everything else.
Yeah, don't have to be so concerned with this.
Okay.
Um, yeah, some of the others are the ability to walk
Yes.
walk on
Oh,
water without
yeah, yeah.
sinking, to dive into the earth, to fly through the skies. But it's said that sort of the supreme iddhi is the destruction of the asavas, the destruction of the defilements.
Okay. That I can get, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's a little strange. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, let us see. Is this Gita?
Yes, Bhante. That was a very important sutta. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with us. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante. Bhante, this training is extremely gradual. So, would it mean that when we experience life on a daily basis, that we see the dangers, the adinava, and then automatically we turn away viraga and nibbida? So, I mean, when you see that, sometimes you're helpless, Bhante, because our six senses are always cheating us and
Yeah,
taking us to a wrong place.
yeah,
So to recognize them arising is it's takes real effort and mindfulness.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah,
So Bhante, you're in basically in this sutta, Buddha is saying to be patient and to keep on chipping away at it.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why I say it's a combination of diligent effort and patience. And you spoke about sort of the lure, the attraction
Hmm.
of the senses. Yeah, that's why the previous sutta that we saw, it gives special emphasis to heedfulness.
Mm.
Sariputta, he mentions the things worthy of reverence.
Hmm.
Yeah, so in the sixth place he has reverence for heedfulness. Heedfulness, this is appamada. So that means being diligent and
Mm.
being careful not to let the mind be sort of swept away, sucked away by the lure, by the attraction of, especially of worldly enjoyments.
Mm. Thank you, Bhante.
Which doesn't mean that you can't enjoy yourself from time to time, but you just always have to be aware of not letting the mind get swept away, sucked away, pulled away from your
So be
practice.
mindful.
Yeah, to be mindful
Mindful.
and to be aware of, you said, of the adinava, the drawback,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pitfalls, the dangers.
It's very hard, Bhante, because even last night we went to a family dinner and people talk all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah,
And I was just sitting back and thinking, I don't want to get involved here. So I feel like I'm pulling away from the world. And yet I'm there physically, but my mind's not there because I can see the chatter around me and I don't want to engage anymore.
yeah.
And
Sometimes
sometimes,
you have to go
and
to these things.
sometimes, yeah, go to these things to do a show face, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's basically what I'm doing. But also the problem is you feel so much of compassion because a lot of the people that you see and you talk, they're so lost. They're so lost. And
yeah.
you
So,
know they're going to be stuck in samsara for many lifetimes to come, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It's very sad.
yeah. Sometimes one just has to wait for the opportunity to open up. But for many people, it just doesn't open. You just have to accept. That's where
Mm,
upekkha, equanimity, comes in.
mm. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Okay, I see another John E.
Morning, everybody,
Good
and
morning.
thank you, Bhante, for all you do. Um, I have a curious thing that's occurred to me. I'm also following along your past teachings about the Majjhima Nikaya.
Yeah, yeah,
Nikaya, is it? Yeah. And but even here in the Book of Sevens, in Sutta 67, it occurs, and again today it occurred that it seems to me in a lot of suttas, and I could be wrong, so please I need to know that, but I'm also wondering if there's an explanation. Um, it seems to me that the four jhanas
mm.
are more often emphasized than the four immaterial states
Oh,
directly.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering why that is, or if there is a reason.
Yeah, first I would say like first the four immaterial states are more difficult to attain than the four jhanas. So it would seem that one who attains the fourth jhana should be able to attain the immaterial states. But um I would say that the four jhanas are themselves sufficient for developing the panya, the wisdom that leads to liberation. Whereas the immaterial attainments, or the formless attainments, maybe because they're too quiet, too equanimous, too peaceful, so that they're not so adequate as a basis for insight as the jhanas would be. That would be my supposition. And then the Buddha's sort of biographical, autobiographical account of his own quest for enlightenment. You find it in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 26, when he was learning meditation under his first teachers. They taught him the practice leading first to the third formless meditation, and then to the fourth formless meditation. And in each case, the Buddha realized, or now he's still the Bodhisattva, realized that this attainment doesn't lead to the higher knowledge, to enlightenment, to nirvana, but just to rebirth in the corresponding realm. And so then he became disillusioned with those practices and then rejected them. And so in that way, they become sort of downgraded. Their significance is downgraded, but they're not completely rejected because there are some suttas which show how those attainments too can be used as a platform for developing insight and gaining realization. Okay, we take Kenneth. You have to unmute. Okay. Then we'll go to Amy. Unmute.
Yes, Bhante, thank you so much for teaching. I have a quick question. The 7 factors of enlightenment, are they in some sort of orders at all, one being a prerequisite for the next one, or are they simply a collections?
Yeah, there's definitely a sequence there, and you find the sequence elaborated. Let's say it's in the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 46. That's the collected discourses on the 7 factors of enlightenment. And so we could say mindfulness is the starting point. Then mindfulness leads to what's called Dhamma Vichaya, investigation of Dhammas. And sometimes that's equated with wisdom, but it seems to me that here investigation is not like the deep insight, but it's rather on the basis of mindfulness when it is sort of investigating the different states of mind or qualities of mind that arise, and one is able to distinguish what are the states that are unwholesome, that are harmful, that are impediments, and what are the states that are wholesome, that are virtuous, that are beneficial. And so mindfulness is what provides one with sort of a sort of a view of the working of one's mind. And then Dhamma Vichaya is the ability to distinguish, to discriminate the wholesome and the unwholesome. And then one applies oneself more diligently to one's meditation subject. And in that way, one is applying virya or energy, the determined effort. And then when the effort becomes successful, then one begins to experience piti, which is joy, delight, elation, a kind of inner happiness. And then through the force of that elation, then the effort can relax. So one doesn't have to force oneself as much. And so the effort relaxes. It becomes a kind of relaxed practice, which is the arrival of prasadi, which is translated tranquility, but it's more like a tranquilization of the practice. So it calms down. So it's not so forceful or intent or intense. So it's a sort of soft, gentle phase of the practice. And then through the strengthening of that tranquility, then there comes samadhi, concentration. And then as concentration deepens, then it brings increasing equanimity. So it's almost as if it seems that from samadhi to upekkha seems to be corresponding to progression through the jhanas. So samadhi maybe will cover the first three jhanas, and upekkha maybe corresponds to the fourth jhana, in which upekkha becomes most prominent. And what strikes me a bit strange in the seven factors of enlightenment is that one doesn't see it culminating in panya or wisdom. And so it's said, some interpreters say the second factor, investigation, becomes panya. But then the question arises, why then does panya come right after mindfulness, but before things like piti, tranquility, samadhi? Because in the threefold training, we have sila, that's good conduct, samadhi, and then panya. So I don't know, the sequence of the seven factors of enlightenment, I find a bit puzzling. So the
Thank
only
you,
way,
Bhante.
the only way I can make sense of it is would just have to agree that investigation of dhammas then would come after upekkha again, sort of it appears again, but now in the role not of distinguishing the wholesome and the unwholesome, but
Mm.
rather in the role of investigating like the five aggregates to see impermanence, dukkha,
Mm.
and non-self.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like that the end got left off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you for the explanation. Excellent. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Any other questions or comments?
Bhante, one thing is like the seven factors. The wisdom is the kind of its result, right? Related to liberation. So it might be that's why it's not there. Seven factors, after you get them right, then eventually you will lead towards the wisdom, parami.
Yeah. Yeah. So the wisdom is not expressly, of course, it's implied by investigation. Though Panya is not mentioned specifically in its own right as an enlightenment factor, though within the, as I said, in the commentarial Abhidhamma tradition, the investigation enlightenment factor then gets identified as Panya. So we can't accept that. But then it just occurred to me that there are some passages or some suttas which say that the seven factors of enlightenment, when fully developed and cultivated, culminate in vijja vimutti.
Vimut.
So, so vijja is the accurate knowledge, which is really the full flourishing or blossoming or fulfillment of wisdom. And then
Yes,
vimutti is liberation, which is the
yes,
result of fully mature panya, wisdom. So
yes,
maybe the seven factors of enlightenment are mentioned without specifically mentioning panya, because the seven factors of enlightenment culminate in vijja vimutti,
Vimut.
and then vijja is really the equivalent of panya, the fully mature panya.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah.
Okay, I see another hand now. This is Ali again, so you can unmute.
Thanks, Monte. I'm wondering about the four efforts. I know the two, that we don't have to overstrive or understrive, just the right effort. But I didn't know there were like four of them. I mean, what does that? I know not to overachieve, or over effort, to exert, or under,
Yeah,
just the right
yeah.
amount. But what are the four? Why is there too
Okay,
much?
yeah, okay. The four right efforts, you'll find them actually in the in the Anguttara Nikaya, in the Book of Fours at the end, towards the end, there's a bunch of suttas, repetitive suttas on the four right efforts. So the four right efforts are first, they're distinguished in regard to the unwholesome, and two in regard to the unwholesome, two in regard to the wholesome. So first, there's the effort to prevent unarisen, unwholesome qualities or mental states from arising. And then second is the effort to abandon unwholesome mental states that have already arisen. So those are the two with regard to the unwholesome. Then with regard to the wholesome, there's the effort to arouse wholesome qualities or wholesome mental states that have not yet arisen. And so that would be the effort, for example, to generate the four foundations of mindfulness, to develop the four foundations of mindfulness. So that is the first, to arouse the unarisen wholesome states, and then the effort to stabilize, increase, intensify, and mature the arisen wholesome mental states.
Thank you, Bhante. So it's different than the four, the efforts in Eightfold Path. These are different ones.
No,
These are,
they're the same actually.
they're the same, but
Yeah,
the ones over there are okay. As
yeah.
I understood it, is just not to overexert the effort, just play the lute, not too tight, not too
Oh,
slow, that kind of
that's the way right effort is explained as the middle way. But in the Noble Eightfold Path, when the Buddha is elaborating what is right effort, then it's explained as the four kinds of right effort that I just explained.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, you can see this in the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 45 on the Noble Eightfold Path. I think it's Sutta number 8, which defines each of the 8 path factors. Yeah, I think it's chapter 45, Sutta number 8. Okay, I think we're going to have to end for the day, and then we'll continue next week our tour through the remaining suttas in the Book of Sevens. Okay, so we could end by doing first the dedication or sharing of the merits with the devas and nagas, and then with all sentient beings. So I'll recite in Pali. Akasa tacha bhumata devanaga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang. Akasa tacha bhumata devanaga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu desanang. Akasa tacha bhumata devanaga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu mang parang. Dukkha pata chani dukkha baya pata chani baya soka pata chani soka unto sabe pipani no. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. And then we do 3 bows to the Buddha or to the triple gem. Okay. 1 bow. 2nd bow. And 3rd bow. Okay,
And
so
about to Bhante Bodhi.
thank you.
Thank you, Bhante, our
Thank you,
teacher.
Okay,
Bhante.
so thank you
Sadhu,
everybody
sadhu.
for
Thank you,
joining.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bhante.
sadhu,
Good to see
Good
sadhu,
you
lunch,
again,
sadhu.
Bhante.
Okay,
Be safe. Be
Thank you,
well.
Bhante.
okay,
Very nice,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Happily.
See you
Nice
on
to see
Okay.
Wednesday,
everyone.
Bhante.
Thank
okay,
you,
Thank you,
okay,
Bhante.
thank you.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bhante. Thank
bye.
you.
Good
Okay, take
week,
care.
everyone.
Okay,
You too,
Sadhu,
Carolyn. Take
sadhu.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bhante.
Night,
Thank you,
Bhante. Namo
Bhante.
okay,
Buddhaya.
take care.
Thank you, Bhante. Bye-bye.
Have a good
Okay,
weekend, Bante. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Yeah.
Your Bhante. Your Bhante.
Okay, take care. Well, let me stop the recording.